Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news. I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're not live, if you are with us live, if you're not, get your comments in as usual. No way out, I suppose, is what we're starting off with. There's no way out for us as Man United fans either. You can't be going supporting somebody else, but there is no way out. The latest is today coming in is that Barcelona only want to loan Marcus Rashford. There's nobody interested in signing him. There's nobody interested in signing Garnacho at the price that we want. We're still no closer to removing Sancho. No one wants Onana. It's a frustrating situation for Amorim. We'll talk about that. Also, Italian sources. We'll talk about that in a moment. Richard Rios, Manchester United, maybe competing against Roma. Also, some quite significant updates coming in around the goalkeeping situation, around Antony as well, and a little bit around Mbeumo as well. So lots to get into on the show tonight. Little bit early because I'm doing the Club World Cup at 8 o'clock if you want to join me for that. But lovely day, lovely weekend in the UK here. So trying to stay positive in the sunshine, but look, literally just before I hit the live button, then I was just looking at Fabrizio Romano's update. Nothing to do with us. Arsenal going to sign Mosquera, the centre back, this week, and also finalise the deal for Gyökeres, which is great, isn't it? Bit like Man United, that. Which is absolutely great. They've already done a load of deals and now they're doing a load more as well. Field Hockey Hub has joined the Members Club. Thank you so much, pal, for supporting the channel and getting your badge in the chat. You're welcome to the Members Club. Really appreciate that. You're in good company with people like Stuart Earp, who says hi to Mr. Polford. Okay, let's start with our first story then. And we're going to be starting off with Plettigol, who has basically said this afternoon. Manchester United and the situation with Marcus Rashford. Barcelona are still targeting Marcus Rashford. However, currently only considering a loan. Understand that Rashford is open to joining Barca and has already given the green light for the move. It now depends on Barcelona. There is no agreement with Man United. Another option for Barcelona is Nkunku. I mean, look, I don't want to offend anybody here, but you just sometimes have to say the obvious. Nobody wants Rashford unless we pay half the wages, and they don't want to pay a transfer fee. So if he is that good, why is it nobody wants to buy him at a reduced price? I mean, 2 years ago, you could have asked for 80 million. You'd now probably get him for 30 million pounds. I'm not joking. I think United would sell for 30. I know they're talking about 60. I think they'd sell for 30 with those wages. So it's amazing. Even I find it amazing. I think there's a player there. I do think there's a player there, but it's the wage, isn't it? Or is it the wage? Is it the brand? Is it the whole? Have people been put off by him over the last 18 months? I think Barcelona. I think what's very clear with Barcelona is they're admirers of Rashford if they can't get what they really want. It's like a car, isn't it? It's like Rashford's like an Audi. It's a nice car. I probably will get you if I can't get the better car. And that's the sort of position he's in. And also he's begging Barcelona as well. Let's be very clear. He's literally on his hands and knees begging Barcelona as well, which is never a good look. So I think it must be massively frustrating for Manchester United. It must be massively frustrating for Ruben Amorim because Man United have contributed to this situation by handing a stupid contract on a stupid wage. But that doesn't help us. To be honest with you, it doesn't help us. Lamenting about the past and previous wages and previous contracts, there's numerous other decisions that we've made that are terrible. Look, we're going through the same thing with Antony and with Sancho at the moment because their wages are ridiculous as well. So it's problematic. It's not problems that Amorim has made and he's trying to solve, but this is why he doesn't want them in training, because there was a story this afternoon, I think it was in iPaper, which is a UK outlet, and they were basically saying that Marcus Rashford holds no animosity towards Amorim or Manchester United and would be open to reintegration into the squad. Of course he bloody well would. Of course he would. His brand, his name, his World Cup fame will not happen if he doesn't have a club to play for. It's all right doing interviews at Christmas saying you want a new challenge. It's all right, not putting it in training in January because you want to go. It's all right flying out to Spain and doing interviews to flirt with Barcelona in June. But when it hits the middle of July and no one wants you, suddenly, even though your number 10 shirt's been taken away from you, suddenly you are. I'm sure he's bloody open to playing for Man United again. I mean, this is the dream ticket for Rashford. If he can get back in the Man United team, at least he's playing. At least the papers are talking about him. His big problem now is he's played the game. He's tried it on. He's done the interviews he shouldn't have done. He's flirted around. He was happier than he's ever been at Villa. But nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. I will concede, if he was on 100 grand a week, everyone would want him. If he was 22 and on 100 grand a week, everyone would want him. But he's what? 26? 300 grand a week? That's the problem. It's not worth the wage. And look, Man United aren't going to take him back. I don't think we need to be concerned about that. Ben Jacobs was absolutely spot on last week. If you know anything about Ruben Amorim and anything that he's done at Sporting, he doesn't forget past misdemeanors. And he knows it undermines him massively to bring any player back that he said no to, but certainly not a player with the influence in the media that Marcus Rashford has. So that won't be happening. But where Rashford goes, I mean, you're basically looking at a loan. And the funny thing is, we sort of had a debate about this about 2 weeks ago. I'd say it was probably 40% with what I was saying and 60% against it. I said 2 weeks ago, at the end of June, just do the loan deal with Barcelona. And people were like, no, 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 we've got to draw a line in the sand. We're not doing that anymore. It's money or nothing. And what I said was, I would have loaned him to Barcelona at the end of June. I'd have said, we'll pay a third of the wage. You pay 200 grand a week. We'll pay 100 grand a week. You can have him. We'd like an obligation to buy at the end of it, but we know what they're worth, nothing. But just move him out. Solve the problem. Get him out. Because it's absolutely obvious to me we're going to loan him. He is going to get loaned. And I'm absolutely convinced about it. So what are we doing? What are we doing tonight? We're talking about Marcus Rashford. What are we going to be doing? What's Amorim going to be doing on tour? Talking about Marcus Rashford. This is going to go on and on and on and on. And it benefits him because he's in the news. Give him the Barcelona move. Drop it on Barcelona's toes. There's the loan move. If he goes to Barcelona and does well and they don't want him, someone else will anyway. So we're not, people are moaning in the chat already. No, 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 we've got to sell him. You can't sell something people don't want to buy. But if he goes and plays quite well and gets into the World Cup, we won't have a problem selling him in a year's time. But remember what I said. I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford outlasts Amorim at Man United. I didn't mean this summer. I meant he'll go on loan. Amorim gets the sack next year and then Rashford comes back for the new manager. Let's see. He's just overrated, says Aria. Nobody wants him. This just shows how Man United were stupid to give him the contract. It's a stressing club. On outgoings, should these players' agents be trying to find a move? As for Rashford, how deluded is he? No one wants him, let alone Barcelona, says Mike. Mate, look, the agents are definitely trying to get a move for him. The agent of Garnacho is trying to get a move for him. They're not having any joy. There's not a queue of people wanting to sign Garnacho or Marcus Rashford. There are people offering terms, but they're not. Their agents know these are not the deals that Man United are going to go for. Like, there will be people who take Rashford on loan if we pay half his wages. Of course there will. Man United don't want to do it. There will be people who take Garnacho for £35 million. Man United don't want to do it. So there are offers, but not at the level we want to do them. So we either get real or we're in big trouble. And look, if I'm being completely fair, Man United made it obvious that Rashford's up for sale at a discount in January. Like, Ruben Amorim spoke about him 2 or 3 times publicly and basically called him lazy. So there are two sides. I'm not saying he's wrong to do that, but when you do that, what I find strange is, with Garnacho, he did the interview after the Europa League final. The very next morning, it was basically known, and that's why we said it on the morning show. He's done, 100% gone. From his side, he's gone. Then it came out that Man United wanted him gone as well. But then we want 60 million. And the thing I struggle with is, we're obviously very bad at selling, blah, blah, blah. We know that. But what I really find funny is that we keep hearing stories that Man United want £50 million for Rashford and £60 million for Garnacho because look at João Pedro. Look at Gittins. Look at Madueke. Look at Cunha. If I remember correctly, João Pedro wasn't called lazy by his manager. If I remember correctly, Madueke didn't do an interview after the cup final basically saying everything's shit, and then United didn't let it get put out that he was for sale and good luck to getting a club. So we want these prices, but we've devalued them. And I don't mind us devaluing. I mean, I actually quite like the honesty of what was said. But don't think you're going to get top dollar for players when you basically call them out publicly. And that's what we've done. So I just think at the moment, as with Mbeumo, as with a striker, as with a goalkeeper, as with the sales, it's just this consistent theme of confusion and what appears to be massively, massively incompetent. Because you can't demand 60 million for Garnacho when you've let it be known that you don't want him anymore. You know, you can't do it. In my opinion, you can't anyway. What if Rashford turns up with a George Foreman grill? He is looking lean, Luke. I've seen his Instagram. Jake, Kyle, Keith, Wayne, Scott has gifted 50 memberships, by the way. Wow, that is very, very generous from Keith. If you've got your badge from him, make sure you say thank you. Absolute legend of the chat. Don't tell Mojo, but Keith, you're a star. Jake, sorry, or Kyle, or Keith, or Wayne, or Scott. Emily Derry says Rashford is essentially being suffocated by his own brand and believes his own hype, which demands a big-time move and big wages, and he's backed into a corner with a manager who never forgets. He's in a difficult position, Emily. I mean, I want to talk about other things, but he is in a difficult position because you're right. He has the accolades. He has the thing from the Queen. He has the brand. He has that appeal. He has the fan base. He has the name, but he doesn't have the game. He doesn't have the game. And you can't just switch that back on. Wherever he goes, he's going to have to... Well, look, Barcelona might want him if they can't get what they really want. If he doesn't get Barcelona, where do you go? Like, the Villa move was about right. A decent club giving you a chance. That he just wants to... You know, it says it in his bio, England international. I wouldn't take that for granted. Why are you an England international? Because you got picked in the squads in March. I don't. You're not going to get picked in September if you haven't got a squad, mate. If you're so look, I think he's look. If I was advising him and he'd never bloody listen, I'd say, look, there's a talent there that you need to focus on. You need to stop telling people that you need to stop listening to people who are basically wiping your arse, and you need to go out there and put some work in for 12 months. Find a club that wants you, that will play you on the left wing. Find the best one you can and go and play. Don't be just sat there waiting for Barcelona. Find a club that wants you and go and play, like ASAP. But obviously he wants Barcelona, and it probably will still happen. Just loan him. Rashford and Amorim need a truce till January. Amorim may not like it, but he doesn't have the cash to be stubborn. I completely disagree, Keel. If Amorim calls a truce with Rashford, he may as well sack himself. He loses all authority. He loses all respect. You can't do what you've done and then bring the player back, because then player power is back, Keel, and you know it. Watch the Lionesses, not the charade of a cup, says Alan. You could do both. Alia says, I've done that one from Aria. Dan says, at times you look at this too pessimistically, and doing 10 years of inefficiencies will have us suffer in many areas and so far. Decisions made, we would do parts of it. Similarly, impact targets are not tied to next season. Dan, you know what, Dan? It started off with, I thought you were going to teach me something, and then you just spouted utter shit. What are you talking about? 10 years? Just speak in English. Like, we didn't dial up Simon Jordan. Didn't ask you to swallow a fucking dictionary. Undoing 10 years of insufficiencies will have us suffer in many areas, and so far, decisions made, we would do parts of it similarly. Impact targets are not tied to next season. What? Dan, give us your real name. Jim, what are you talking about? I would not do anything similarly to this fucking football club, because I wouldn't have got into bed with the Glazers. We would have had Qatar, mate. So we wouldn't do this at all. Stop trying to justify this shithole, because no one's going to listen to you, Dan. No one's going to sit there and go, oh, you know what, Dan? He's right. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Nonsense. Absolutely not. Come back with something again. I quite enjoy these sort of comments. Did you see the news on Rios and Kovar, Mark, says George? Yeah, well, look, let me talk to you about Richard Rios. This story came in this afternoon. I think we all like Richard Rios. Palmeiras, Colombian midfielder, 25, box to box. Not really a holding midfielder. You wouldn't buy Rios to play with Bruno. It wouldn't work. But I think it's... I would love Richard Rios at Manchester United. I think he would be an intelligent signing comparable to the midfielder that we have. So, look, he's heavily linked to Roma at the moment. But there was a story from Gazzetta Italia today that Manchester United are competing with Roma for Richard Rios. Unfortunately, the only good source from Italy is Dolmio, and that can't talk. You put it on your pasta. That's a bad source. Not Dolmio, but that's a bad source. Like, I'm not getting excited about Man United hijacking a Roma deal for Richard Rios because some Italian source says that we're doing it. We've had our fingers burnt many times with these Italian sources, and I do not believe it. Why would we hijack a midfielder when we need a striker and a goalkeeper that we can't get? And we haven't even signed Mbeumo yet. So, no, I don't see this at all. I'd like it to be true, but I don't see it at all. We have the same squad. We will still play twice a week because the FA Cup will be our only ticket to European football. Where are the people who said losing the Europa was a blessing in disguise? Says Andre Gomez. Hope you're doing well. We should get Rios ASAP. ASAP, says Sehel. I thought you were saying ASAP. Cheap and low risk. 2 days away from midway through July, says Mike. I mean, this is the plan. No outgoings, one in. With the squad that finished 15, it's utterly laughable. Let me tell you about the goalkeeper, if you think that's laughable. And Nicholas said, like I said weeks ago, clubs will wait for last week of transfer window and see how desperate we are to sell to get a lower transfer fee. Oh, yeah, you can see it coming. You can see it coming a mile off, Nicholas. So on the goalkeeping situation, this came out this afternoon, also in iPaper, that Vitek will be the goalkeeper on tour, covering until Onana comes back, because Biinda's going to get moved on. And then the plan is to bring in an inexperienced young goalkeeper as a number 2 to Onana. So yeah, look, that is obviously very, very disappointing, but it's not surprising. I think we may as well just get, unless something shocking happens, we may as well just get on board with the fact that the 2 priority positions this summer are going to be either not filled or plasters on the wound. We're not replacing Onana, quite obviously, and we're not bringing in a top striker, quite obviously. And I think we just need to understand and obviously not be happy about it, but Onana gets injured and we're still talking about somebody that can be an understudy to him next season. I was out on Friday and I was talking to a goalkeeping coach. Again, I've spoken to so many people who are like ex-goalkeepers or goalkeeping coaches, and every time I speak to one, I always say, what do you think about Onana? Unprompted, they all pretty much say, technically not a very good goalkeeper, don't really understand why you got rid of De Gea for him, and don't understand why you paid to do it. He's just not respected in the goalkeeping community. Not at all. Technically, he's just not a very good goalkeeper, and that's not going to change. So there will always be mistakes. But yeah, I think it comes down to price. There's a few people trying to rewrite history that Amorim wants to keep Onana. He doesn't want to keep Onana. Jason Wilcox doesn't want to keep Onana either. They just have to keep him because there is no financial capability to do anything about it, which is obviously very, very frustrating. But yeah, it looks like if there is a goalkeeper that's going to come in, it will be a goalkeeper that is young and is an understudy to Onana, who, remember, has got the AFCON coming up in December as well, as will Mbeumo, Mazraoui, Ahmad. So we're going to lose some of our good players in January. Don't forget, December, January as well. Nicholas has gifted a membership. You're an absolute legend, mate. Nigel said, this club is so poorly managed, they don't utilise scouts. I'm certain you can get good players at around 25 to 30 million euros to boost the squad. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not here to say that Richard Rios shouldn't be a Man United signing. I think he should. But we all know we won't do it because we just don't have the capabilities to do a deal like that. At the moment, we don't have that 25 million to go and get a player. I mean, most clubs would have that money to go. We weren't thinking about it, but actually it's a good investment at that price. We don't have that type of money. The only money we have is to spend. We're looking at another couple of 16-year-olds again, aren't we? And you know what? I wish these lads all the best when they come to Manchester United, but it is getting a little bit of a piss take now. The volume of 16-year-olds we're bringing into the club. We finished 15th. If you want a number near 16, we finished 15th. What's a bunch of 16-year-olds going to do for us? It's like the new stadium. It's 5 years into the future at least. And that's if it happens. And it's the same with a 16-year-old. You know, they might well be the next Steven Gerrard or the next Wayne Rooney or the next Thierry Henry. But we're going to have to wait 5 years. And that's if it happens. Yeah, it's just relentless. Relentless obsession with buying 16-year-olds and not doing anything about the first team. But that's going to happen when you've got Jason Wilcox, whose only experience really is youth football, and Favell, whose experience and credibility is youth football, like buying youth players. We don't actually have experience in buying senior players, to be fair. This is quite interesting. I mean, look, remember Antony? Had a good season at Betis. I think everybody was very happy for him. We expected him to move very, very quickly because he had a very good season with Betis. Still a Manchester United player. Still not turning up for training. Another one, like Garnacho, Sancho, Rashford, Malacia, not part of the first team training, but not part of anybody else's at the moment. Well, this is the latest. It's coming in from Trevella. And they're saying that Bayer Leverkusen are in talks with Manchester United to sign Antony. Besides Leverkusen, Betis want him back after a successful loan. 2 other major clubs, one in Italy and another in Germany, are also interested in signing Antony. Well, this in itself is quite positive news. I mean, obviously, Leverkusen is Ten Hag. He won't be paying 80 million for him, will he? But look, I think with Antony, again, I'm sort of confused because Garnacho, I get it. We want a silly price and he wants to play in the Premier League, and that's going to be very, very difficult. Rashford, I get it. He wants to go to Barcelona. He's on silly wages. No one wants to pay it. Sancho, I get it. 1 year left on his contract, wants ridiculous wages. It's hard to do. But Antony, I don't get it. He had a really good season. We only need 30 million and we've basically broken even. We can move him on. And yet here we are, middle of July, another player we can't shift. And Antony really should be quite easy. There was a lot of interest. I mean, Atletico Madrid were interested at one point. So, again, I sort of, you forget about Antony because he's not really causing problems, but he's still a Man United player. We're still paying his wages. We're still giving him whatever we pay him at the moment for the last 2 weeks. So, again, it's just another player that we can't move. It's really, really strange. Nicholas has gifted a membership. Thank you very much. Mark, I honestly don't think most of us realise how bad things are, says Keel. Amorim has an illusion of power. As things are, we are better off sacking him. P-Dog has gifted a membership as well. Thank you very much, pal. Will sales advance after the Mbeumo deal? We're very slow, says Ricardo. All I read today, and again it was in iPaper, about Mbeumo, is that, and it's interesting if it's true, because it says Mbeumo is not dependent on sales. The delay in signing him is not, I repeat, not because we need to sell to buy. Man United expect this deal to be done before they go on the tour, and it will not be dependent on any sales. So, look, there has been a theory, I've had that theory, that we may be waiting to sell somebody to buy him. But logically, we probably can afford to buy him without selling. And also, I personally think, my theory is that we've delayed this because of wages. Because we are paying Antony's wage, we are paying Sancho's wage, we are paying Rashford's wage, and we are paying Garnacho's wage. And I think they're sort of like, what's the latest point, Ruben, we can take and we can start paying Mbeumo that it's not going to mess you up? And I think Amorim's probably said, look, I need him for the tour. I'd like to have him now, but I need him for the tour. So I think United have probably gone 200 grand a week, saved for 2 weeks is 400k. I think that's what we've done with Mbeumo. I think we've basically said, what's the latest point we can get him in that it's not going to cause us a problem? And Amorim's probably said, as long as he comes on the tour, that gives me 3 weeks before the start of the season. I can play him in pre-season games. It's the only thing that makes sense. If we don't need to sell to buy him, and we know we're going to pay the 60, it must just be because we're delaying it a little bit to save a couple of weeks of wages because we're still paying Rashford and co. So that's the only thing I can think of. And don't tell me we wouldn't do that, because we certainly would. Are we the only club where players do interviews still in contracts, says J Law? I don't know. I don't know why players are allowed to do these interviews in contracts. I really don't. Do you think Mbeumo delay is about having cash available to pounce on Gyökeres if Arsenal pull out? Struggling to explain how long it's taken, says the Boffman. Well, I've just literally explained my theory. I think Gyökeres is 100% going to be an Arsenal player. I think it's very, very obvious that that's going to happen now. That deal with Gyökeres has changed from what it was a month ago or 3 weeks ago or whenever it was. I was saying it's red hot. It's changed because Arsenal chose him over Sesko. And now Gyökeres has publicly said he wants Arsenal. So what you basically got is Arsenal's public pledge that they want Gyökeres and Gyökeres' public pledge that he wants Arsenal and nobody else. That's not going to break down. That's not going to break down. It's the same as what we've got with Mbeumo. Mbeumo wants Man United. We want him. We've just got to agree the fee with Brentford. So Gyökeres Arsenal will happen, and what a signing that will be. Mbeumo's going to play striker, mark my words, says Luca. That's why Mainu, Bruno and Ahmed is being kept, says Luca. Well, it could be a thing. What I would say, though, Luca, is that we were going to buy Delap and Mbeumo, so let's not pretend that the plan all along was to get a striker, because that's bullshit. What if done that one from Luke? Is it true that Glinios have got a combined wealth of 24.4 billion, says Nick B? I don't know. I don't know, Nick. I don't know. I really don't. Unknown Guy 50 says, part of me thinks Rashford is holding out in the hope that Amorim gets the sack and he gets a new life under a different manager. I don't think he is at the moment. I mean, I think there is a chance that Rashford will outlast Amorim if he goes on loan somewhere, and then Amorim gets sacked this season. But I don't think he can sit there waiting right now, because Amorim's not going to get sacked this side of Christmas, I don't think. Morris says, I like your beard. It's not really a beard. I just haven't had a shave. Emily Derry says, our owners don't have the foresight or the balls to know and try to speculate to accumulate. They just see the reduced income from poor results. Thank you very much, Emily. Oh, Dan's back. He says, I think you misunderstood my point, Mark. Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. On inefficiencies and his suffering, what I'm saying is tied to our ruthlessness in communications versus our players, which is lowered value. We would be as frank, if not even tougher. I don't understand what you're saying, Dan. You've swallowed another dictionary. I didn't go to university. I didn't do a degree. I don't know what you're talking about. Keep it simple. I keep reading your stuff and I don't know what you mean. Insufficiencies and his suffering. What I'm saying is tied to our ruthlessness in communication versus our players, which is lowered value. We would be as frank, if not even tougher. Yeah, I don't get it. Sorry, I don't. Intelligent people probably will. The only thing Onana can catch is a cold, says Mike JW. Abineb, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much in relation to that one. Essentially, the club aren't backing Amorim, says Ross. Yanni says, ChatGPT on our acid is Dan. Yeah, he's getting called all sorts of names. Look, he's obviously a very intelligent guy, but I just can't decipher it. I think this is a great question. This is why I like the evening shows, because we delve into, we're not just talking about when Mbeumo is going to happen, because it's, we're actually having a conversation. I think this week is, I'm loath to say this is a huge week for Manchester United, and yet the thumbnail tomorrow might say huge week on it. I can't deny, because we've done it before, and it works quite well on a Monday when you're struggling. But I think it is a huge week for Manchester United. But what I'm not going to say is anything's going to happen, because, to be fair, this is not unique to this summer or last summer or the summer before or the summer before that. We go into weeks in the middle of July when nothing's happening, and we absolutely expect something to happen, and then it doesn't. I mean, the honest answer is we could hit the end of July and nothing could happen. Like, there is no guarantee we will sell a player or buy a player before August the 1st. There isn't. There really, really isn't. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there is. But in relation to Ross's question, have United backed Ruben Amorim? And that's the question. Because everybody can answer this question. You know, you can answer it, I can answer it, anybody can answer this question. An Arsenal fan can answer it, a Swindon fan can answer it, anybody can answer this question, and Ineos and the Glazers cannot deny it because there is enough evidence there from when they appointed Amorim in November to today for people to go, well, based on that, yes, they have backed him, or no, they haven't. Have Ineos backed the manager they brought in 8 months ago in that period? Are they backing him in the most important of summer transfer windows in years? And the honest answer is no, they're not. And they can argue as much as they like, and they can spin a story as much as they like. But Ross makes a great point. Why have we never thought of it like that? Has Amorim been backed in the last 8 months? No, he hasn't. He got one player in January, and that was basically a 20-year-old, and he's got one player in the summer. In January and the summer, Pep Guardiola's had about 300 million quid. And they were champions of England when that spend started, and they were going to play in the Club World Cup, and they were still in the Champions League. Chelsea, again, spending again. Liverpool, again. Arsenal, again. Spurs now. They haven't backed him. That's the biggest statement. And, I challenge and dare the journalist close to Manchester United to put that on a headline. Not backed. He's not been backed. And what rhymes with backed when you don't get backed? It's sacked, for those who can't figure it out. So, no, great question, Ross. And I don't think there's any doubt or confusion. He hasn't been backed. They can change that. They can change it, but they haven't backed him. It's appalling. They've removed nobody. How can you walk into a job in an environment that, if you get given a job as a manager and the boss says in the interview, you've got free will to make all the changes to get this company back working again because it's failing, and then you go in and 8 months later they've not removed anybody that you've asked to be removed, what do you think is going to happen? So, yeah, they do need to back him, and they aren't. But in relation to this week, I will make a prediction. I will not make a statement. I genuinely do think this week we will get the Mbeumo here we go. And I've not said that for a while with any conviction. But we don't actually go out to the US tour until the middle of next week. So it could be next week it happens. But I think it will happen this week. And there's two reasons I think it'll happen this week. One, I think that the new kit coming out on Wednesday, look, I know how Man United work. You know how Man United work. There's no way they're dangling a new kit for a week and then on Wednesday not having something to attach to it. Now, it might be a Mainu new contract. It might be Mainu in the kit and a new contract. It could be that. But I think it is probably going to be an Mbeumo deal, in which case we could have a here we go tomorrow and an official holding up the shirt on Wednesday. That might be a bit quick for United to do. I don't see us doing any sales next week, though. But the second thing I would say as well is this is the first full week of proper training. Like, everybody's back now. So you do want to start getting your players in. So I think it will happen this week. That's my prediction. But to be honest with you, I'm not saying it in any way to make you get excited or anything like that. It's abysmal that it's took this long, and we all know that. Keel Robinson says, Dan is saying we applaud ruthlessness, but it devalues our players. But Dan, I don't really care, because I'm a football fan, and I never wanted to be run like an accountant firm. Pep Guardiola devalued Cancelo. You These players need calling out because Amorim can't create a culture of winning if he doesn't publicly call out those that aren't part of that culture. So I don't care about devaluing players. There's no problem devaluing players. A manager's job is not to not devalue players that he's not happy with. A manager's job is to get the best out of what he's got. And if he can't, you move them on. Devaluing players, I don't care. But the club should be able to deal with that, and it can't. Because it's unrealistic and it's naive. If we had better owners and better negotiators, we'd be able to deal with the devaluing of players and find moves for them. Amorim has always made it known when he wants a player out, Rashi, etc. Yet he's never spoken against Onana, not even once. Maybe he's naive, says Parker. No, I think the difference is that Onana's liked. He turns up, he smiles, he works hard in training. It's not about a bad attitude with Onana. It's not about a bad attitude with Rasmus. It's not about a bad attitude with a Casemiro, you know. And to be fair, the Casemiro thing has changed. But in January, he wanted him gone. Those players, it was about what he wants in his team. It's not personal. It's, you know, it's not an attitude thing. It's an ability thing. And obviously Casemiro's changed that. But trust me, Amorim's not stupid, and neither is Jason Wilcox. They wanted a new goalkeeper. The club just can't get rid of Onana. The board have backed Amorim on the edge of a cliff with no parachute, says Nigel Spiegel. Plot twist tomorrow. Here we go. Mbeumo and Wizza, says KDT. Yeah, wake up, mate. Dan's come back. He's lowered it down. He's put it into ChatGPT and said, take this sentence and convert it into something an idiot would understand. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. He says, I'll keep it simple. Well, please do. Please do. Amorim hung Rashford and Garnacho out to dry in presses and hit out at their lack of effort and behaviour. I like the ruthlessness, despite the players being harder to move on. They needed to be humbled. Look, there's no doubt, Dan and Keel, that by calling them out, and I said it at the start of the show, you know, Amorim devalued Rashford and he devalued Garnacho, definitely, by the way he treated them, dropping them in the derby in December and everything else that's gone through then. He's not wrong to do that. He's not wrong to do that. We needed a manager to come in and do that because of the last 7 years where we've not done that. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said about Rashford, he needs to focus on his football and less on what he's doing in his private life. 4 days later, at the start of a press conference, Solskjaer stood there and said, before I take any questions, and basically apologised to Rashford. So, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. I want the manager that takes control. And Ineos have given him the freedom to do that. But the hypocrisy of it is that in giving him the freedom to do that, they've then not allowed for the value drop to move them on. Because they just don't know what they're doing. So on the one hand, they bring a manager in that's going to be ruthless and call out the bad apples that are rotten and need discarding. And that's good. But on the flip side, they then want full value. And they then don't know how to sell them when they're devalued. Look, I don't know how it works at Man United. But to me, if I was Omar Barada and Ruben Amorim's been given the freedom to do what he's done, I then know I'm basically on the phone to Barcelona saying, what's the loan deal? Because I ain't selling him. And I then know when I'm talking to Aston Villa and Chelsea or Napoli, I'm basically doing 35 million plus add-ons for Garnacho and a sell-on fee. And I know that because of what's happened with Amorim and quite rightly calling them out. But what United are actually doing is, we're not listening to loan deals, we want 40 million for Rashford. We're not listening to 35 million, we want 60 million for Garnacho. And that's just not going to happen. It's a buyer's market and it's not going to happen. So, yeah, it just goes back to the same old thing, Dan. Why aren't we looking at Ter Stegen? This is Frederick, don't know. Not been linked to him at all. Cunha and Mbeumo could possibly transform us next season. If they can get us goals and assists, it could paper over the cracks until we get rid of the crap, says Sam. I was at Seb's game this morning, and one of the lads' dads is a big Wolves fan, and we were talking at half time, and I just asked him directly. I said, we've done nothing, we've sold nobody, and we've bought Cunha. In your experience as a Wolves fan, is Cunha going to make Man United a top 5 team? And he said no. He said he's a really good player, but what you got to remember is he could get injured. They could just mark him out of the game. Like, he's not Yamal. He's not prime Messi. He's a good player, but you can't just drop him into that Man United side and go, oh, everything's going to be fine. If anything, it's unfair. And Cunha is a good player, and I think he can be transformative, and he is very exciting. But one player's not enough, is it? I mean, look, Liverpool have just won the league. That's a league-winning side. They haven't just gone and bought Wirtz and gone, that's it, we just need a cherry on the cake. I know they've had to replace Trent with Frimpong, but they're also looking at Ekitike. They're also looking at Rodrigo. They're also looking at Guehi. They're also looking at Kirkes. Look at Arsenal. Nobody's left, really, have they? I mean, Thomas Partey, but Zubimendi, Norgard, Madueke. They're talking to Eze. They're bringing another centre-back in. They brought another goalkeeper in. They're bringing a striker. These teams aren't shit, and they're bringing in 5 or 6 players. We're shit, and we're bringing 1 in. Syed, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. You're a legend. Jacob says, Omar saying we'd win the league in 2028 is like me saying I will have a physique like a Greek god soon, and yet I'm eating an ice cream as we speak. Actions speak louder than words. The thing is, Jacob, I would back you to have a body like a Greek god in 6 months if you put the work in. It doesn't matter how hard Barada works. He's never winning the title in 2028. It's impossible. What about the Pletty story about Kovar? Apparently we have the option to buy him back for 7 million. He's better than both Onana and Bienda. I did see that, Lou, and I apologise for not bringing it in, but we won't do it. We won't do it. Is it true that Glinios... I've done that one from Nick P. Right, I just want to catch up on these. Now we signed Gyökeres. That's 5 players signed since United entered talks for Mbeumo, says Joe. Thanks, Joe. I know we get fans of other clubs watching here, and most of you are like Joe. You do contribute something. I think this is a great point. Arsenal have signed 5 players in the time that we've been talking to Mbeumo, and it should be the other way around. We should at least be replicating it. Thanks, Joe. Patrick Lynch says it's very difficult to be optimistic and have trust in the club when that ownership tells us is completely contradicted by their actions. This is the trouble, Patrick. You know, this is the trouble. Like it's like being on a boat, and you know, you got to go from Southampton to New York on a boat, and every time you see the captain, he's all over the place with a bottle of whiskey. You're just sort of like, okay, I can't do this boat, and you're in charge of this boat, but I don't trust you. You know, you look incompetent, right? And that's the thing about Man United. I can't steer Man United. Patrick can't steer Man United. These are people who are billionaires who've apparently appointed best in class. Yet we publicly see the contradiction in what they're doing. Like, you can't give Amorim the ability to basically devalue players, which needs to happen, and then demand full value for them. Like, it's so obvious to me that when Amorim said what he did about Rashford, the best we were going to get was a loan this summer, and then we're trying to sell him. Just loan him to Barcelona and move on. Oh, it's disappointing. Yeah, it is disappointing, but we are disappointing. Take the wins you can get and move on. You know, a great man once said, you know, pick the battles you can win. Don't waste energy and resources on the battles you can't win, because you can't win every battle. And this is the thing. United seem to be like, I don't know. I really don't. Different day, same old trash transfers club, says JB. Mark, Amorim's still using Ten Hag players plus 2 of his own. It's unbelievable. I've never seen manager using sacked managers' players, says Arshan. And also, can we just remember, Dorgu's not a player. He's a project. Dorgu won't be ready next season. He'll be better, but he's still a project. So he's had 1 player, really, Cunha. He's had a 1 player and a project that's still going to be getting used to the Premier League. I like Dorgu, but he's still a project. Arnold warned us about the financial struggles in that bar years ago. Ineos' whole plan coming in was best in class and cost-cutting. Pure arrogance, as Chuff Bridge. Thank you very much. Okay, I need to move because I've got the Club World Cup final coming up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Monday tomorrow, so let's see what Monday brings. Start of another week. We've got a game on Saturday. I saw Liverpool had a pre-season game today against Preston. Lovely tributes to Jota at Anfield. But yeah, we've got a game on Saturday. Leeds. We're not playing any shit games, are we? We've got Leeds on Saturday in Norway, is it? Or Sweden? I think it's Sweden. Okay, I'll see you over on the That's Football channel in a couple of minutes. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you in a bit.